All right, let's head over to Hong Kong now, where it looks like China wanted a fresh start to the new year. It replaced its top official in the city. According to analysts, it's a signal that Beijing wants more direct control over the region as Hong Kong enters 7 months of anti-government protests. Let's get the very latest now. Grace Lee joins us live from Hong Kong. Grace, a very good morning to you. We saw a big protest on New Year's Day that eventually descended into chaos. What are protesters hoping for in 2020?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of worry here from protesters that the protest movement in general might be running out of steam. We did see that big protest on New Year's Day, but of course, it's been a couple of months since we've seen any of those large-scale protests with, more than 2 or 3 million people. They were kind of hoping it would ramp up to have more people joining in, but it seems like it might be fizzling out. For the new year, the protesters are hoping for more police accountability. They want an independent inquiry into police behavior here in Hong Kong. Thousands of rounds of tear gas have been fired here, and there have been accusations of police brutality towards these protesters. They want some kind of accountability going into this new year, so that's certainly something that they'll be looking out for.
Grace, you're following the top story, international story. Qasem Soleimani was a top general and one of the most powerful men in Iran. What has been China's reaction to this killing?
Well, China is a staunch ally of Iran, and obviously this has, fired up some alarm bells on China's side. Beijing has asked the U.S. and Iran to, for now, calm things down and not escalate anything any further. In the meanwhile, it has issued a warning to its residents overseas in the U.S. to be alert, be aware, as tensions kind of escalate between those two big powers. And also, analysts say that this perhaps might be kind of a warning sign to China as well, that the U.S. Isn't afraid to use force when it comes to, countries that they deem as the bad guys. So that's certainly something that it's making China a little bit nervous, and it'll continue to closely monitor the situation there.
Yeah, President Donald Trump withdrew the United States from the international nuclear pact with Iran, and the other parties to the deal, such as China, seemingly stayed the course at the time. Any reaction with regards to the latest development? I was just looking at a tweet from the Iranian foreign minister saying there will no longer be any restrictions on the number of centrifuges. What's been China's reaction to this?
Well, this kind of puts China in between a rock and a hard place. It's going to need to kind of navigate this very carefully. Of course, China is going through a trade war with the U.S. at this moment as well. That's making things only more complicated for it. And of course, the Hong Kong protests that we've talked about as well, that's all not looking good for Beijing at the moment, juggling so many different things. And for now, again, all China has said is that it wants the situation to de-escalate so that it can unpack a couple of things there and try to negotiate with both sides.
Great. So it's another decade of competition that looms between the two global economic powerhouses, that's China and the United States. Some would, I guess, confidently say that China has enormous global sway. In terms of diplomatic matters, Grace, what's the expectation for 2020?
Well, when it comes to the big trade war between the U.S. and China, they're going to be signing phase 1 of a new deal next week. That's something that is very much anticipated from Washington and Beijing in hopes of kind of simmering things down. It's been a very rough year for the world's two biggest economies, and it's hoping that perhaps this year they'll finally make a deal, and the whole region, not just China and the U.S., but all of Asia, most of the world has been affected by this. So they're kind of hoping that next week will be the big day to look out for in terms of moving things forward for all parties.
Interesting indeed. Grace Lee, live for us in Hong Kong. Thank you.